Very happy Monday, December 3rd. We're here for episode 21. How was your weekend?
It was excellent, Kevin. I was just thinking about how yours was this weekend. I made it up for 4 seasons in Dallas with my wife.
I saw that. I saw that picture. It was a beautiful tree. It's amazing how fast we transition from Halloween, blow right through Thanksgiving, and then we're into the holidays for Christmas.
Wow. Talking about American traditions. I wonder if it's like that all over the world. I doubt it, but it sure is curious to know when they get ready for Christmas.
I'm going to be frustrated if they start putting out Christmas stuff in August, but they haven't gotten that bad yet.
Well, let's start today.
We've got a boatload of news, and there's some good stuff and some interesting things going on. So like you said, let's jump right into the news. So when you look at what's going on, first article is from Forbes, and this is an interesting trend that we've talked about before, and it's entitled "Where Americans Are Moving." And what's interesting is if you look at the top bullet there, the big part of this is they're moving to red states or Republican-led states with low unemployment. In other words, the pro-business environments, the anti-government socialist programs. And I'm not by any means trying to make this a political statement. It's an interesting trend that when you looked at Forbes' assessment, it was very much into places like Texas. And if you look at the top 5, it's like a who's who of what we would expect to see for Texas. So you've got pro-business environment, self-employed areas where there's a lot of entrepreneurial opportunities. And let's look at Texas. Number 1 was the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. Number 3, Austin. Number 5, Houston. Number 8, San Antonio. So Texas is overrepresented in the top 10 by far.
Wow.
And when we get into the question today, we're going to kind of get into this because we're talking about the reality. And I'm hearing from more and more buyers from out of state that are 100% fed up with where they are. It's not only a real estate fed up, in other words, with declining prices, and maybe they are having difficulty selling their house. They're fed up after this most recent election. And I talked to one again this weekend that said, I've had it. I live in the Northeast. I'm moving.
Well, the Northeast. Well, you had it with the Northeast. I came from the East, and I love it out there. That's changing too. You know, I was with Dallas this weekend. It has changed since I left in October 2002. There's a lot of energy companies. There are a lot of companies that are historically, not related to utilities coming in there. It's a pretty amazing stuff that's going on.
Well, yeah, Dallas is taking off. If you remember our discussion a few episodes ago about the Texaplex, which is defined as that area that is the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, the Houston metro area, and then it also includes San Antonio and Austin. It's exactly what this article says. This is where people are moving. And I saw a recent article that indicated that since, it was like 2006 or 2007, I don't know, so call it the last 5 or 6 years, a population size, the entire population of the equivalent of San Francisco has moved out of California in like 5 or 6 years. In other words, you can just take everybody in San Francisco and move them, and that would be the equivalent. And it's accelerating.
Wow. Well, we certainly are getting our high-tech share of people coming in here with a lot of really good knowledge worker basis. And in the real estate world, that means $300,000+ sales.
Absolutely, it does. And what's interesting is, and this is a good tie-in to our next article. There was an article locally here where they've done some surveys, and they're doing some census data about the size of homes. And there's a big difference between places you mentioned, Dallas, and places like Austin. I mean, Dallas is a lot more about bigger, more ostentatious, for lack of a better word, homes. I mean, people like to have big homes up there. You get out to Plano, you get out to Flower Mound, you get out to the Metroplex areas, their houses are a lot bigger. I thought this was interesting. Only just slightly less than 10% of Austin area homes have 9+ rooms in them.
Wow.
So
got me thinking about how many rooms I have in mine.
Well, and so let's look at that. All right, you got a 3-bedroom,
right,
2-bath house,
right,
and there's 5. Kitchen, dining, and living. There's 8.
right.
And this was our average home was about I think it was 9.7, just slightly less than 10% of them have 9+ bedrooms. And you can see you're talking about just your typical 3 or 4 bedroom houses. But look at the median. The median in the area, and this is driven down, I believe, by the condo market and the downtown boom. Because how many rooms are in the typical unit? I'm not talking about the big ones at the Austonian, but you go through a typical 2-bedroom unit.
Well, let's look at my typical 2-bedroom. I have 2 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms, and a living space that includes a combination full, basically living room plus kitchen, and then we have another area that we use as a dining room here. So we're talking 7 spaces.
Yeah, and they may define some of those as a room together. So if the median is 5.2, we're certainly talking about not having large homes. Now you can get into Westlake. Yeah, lots of homes in Westlake and some of the places like Pemberton and Tarrytown and West Austin where you've got much bigger homes, even out in Lakeway along the lake. But that's not your typical home. So when you look at the sales data and the sales numbers in Austin, they sort of reflect this. I know you had a house that sold very, very quickly, and you've done this not only in the Legends, but you also did it in Belterra, didn't you?
Yeah, two in 2 months. It's pretty interesting, and we're competing with Legends for sure.
And there was not a large home, right? You weren't talking about a big 5-bedroom house with lots of extra bonus spaces and everything. It was a home that would comply with this definition, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a very functional, great space home that you could raise a family in, and plenty of privacy with parents at night if they need it.
Right, and that's the thing that you see when you go through this. One of the things you'll notice is when you look at the sales data. Now we're starting to see more and more luxury homes selling, but it's not a lot of the market dynamic. In other words, the volume of homes has shifted. Now, we talked a little bit about Steiner Ranch, and we're going to get into some markets today that are a little bit higher price points for one of them, and those are even starting to sell better. But if you look at the real luxury homes, like if you look at Highland Park in Dallas-Fort Worth area, you certainly know where that area is. Those are big homes. Right. You look at where, George W. Bush, Herbert Walker Bush lives up there. He's got a gigantic home. And it's in that area of Dallas. We don't have a lot of large areas like that in Austin. It's more of a bedroom community, and even despite the fact that we're getting these buyers coming in from out of state, back to the first article, they're able to get a lot of house for their money.
Yeah. Now, just out of curiosity, where would you say the best largest house area would be from where you think? Under, let's say, between $1 million and $1.5 million. Where are the best houses for those large houses in Austin?
Oh, I think that when you're looking at those larger homes, some of the best values I've seen have been out along the lake. Whether it's in Lakeway or that sort of 787, 34, 38 area where you got like Flint Rock and all those other areas, Rough Hollow. You tend to get a decent amount for your money out there. What's interesting is the dollars per square foot when you come in closer are really high if you get into the close areas like Tarrytown and Westlake for these super luxury homes.
Condos, compare the condos. Condos start at $200 a foot down here. You can get a good deal at $260. But when you talk about in the luxury area, $700 a foot in downtown Austin that's what you're expected to pay. Versus a huge house with a lakefront view and probably a golf course out in Lakeway.